more news, more often. Covering the nation and the world. You're waking up with Newsnet Mornings.
Good morning and welcome back. I'm Victoria Idoni with your headlines for your morning. Here's what's happening this Monday. We've got a look at some Easter celebrations, including one where there were no eggs in sight off the coast of California. Plus, this holiday was not a joyous one for everyone. Tragedy struck multiple U.S. cities this weekend in the form of shootings in crowded areas. We've got those stories and more ahead for you. Let's get started. The White House is full of excitement today as the Biden administration hosts its largest event so far. Some 30,000 kids and their adult chaperones are expected to show up at the presidential residence for an event that dates back to 1878, the National Easter Egg Roll. The First Lady is calling it the Egg-ucation Roll and is turning the South Lawn into a school community with a variety of educational stations. That includes an egg hunt, obstacle course, exercise stations, and a cafe-torium, where children and their families will learn to make and eat treats. Because of the pandemic, it's the first Easter egg roll to be hosted by the Bidens, who are expected to address the crowd and join in on some of those fun activities. Although rain is in the forecast. The Eggstravaganza is also expected to have celebrity cameos from Jimmy Fallon, Kristen Chenoweth, singer Ciara, the Cat in the Hat, the Washington Nationals racing presidents, along with Snoopy, Charlie Brown, and the Cookie Monster. Members of the general public receive their tickets through an online lottery, and many of the other kids' parents serve aboard the newly commissioned submarine, the USS Delaware.
10, 9.
The celebration looked a little different at Vandenberg Space Force Base on Easter Sunday, as SpaceX launched a classified payload for the National Reconnaissance Office. Details about the mission, dubbed NROL-87, have not been made public, but we do know the Falcon 9's first stage booster returned successfully to the base after it launched. At a zoo near Santiago, Chile, some of the residents got in on the celebration for Easter Sunday with special treats they found inside painted ostrich eggs. Meerkats and tapirs, which are kind of like vegetarian pigs, were among the animals finding treats to mark the Christian holiday. The zoo director said it was stimulating for the animals to have to work to find their food. And he said the colorful celebration was also a treat for visitors. Eggs, chicken, fruit, soda, cereal, even if you're being careful about where your money's going these days, these everyday items just happen to cost more overall. Tolly Anderson has a look at what groceries are expected to continue to drive up those food bills in the coming months.
Gas for cars and food on the table for families are essential, but those items are seeing a rise in prices throughout the U.S. Americans are having to dip even deeper into their pockets to try to afford life. Now, the U.S. Department of Agriculture predicts dining out for meals will cost you more, too. Restaurant purchases are 8.6% higher than in February 2021 and are expected to jump by 5.5% to 6.5%. The agency's Consumer Price Index for food, which measures inflation, is now up 7.9% from February 2021. That's the largest increase since May 1981. And your grocery store trips will cost you more too. Supermarkets are expected to increase 3 to 4% this year, after already seeing a 6.8% jump from January 2021. Shoppers, too, can expect every food category to cost more. And here are some of those food prices expected to drastically jump later this year. Poultry and eggs. From rotisserie chicken to raw breasts and thighs, poultry items are expected to see the highest jump in prices. Some of this is due to the outbreak of the bird flu that was detected in 23 states. Fats and oil products are expected to see a 6 to 7% jump in prices. And fruits and vegetables, those too. Fresh fruit products are expected to rise 5 to 6%, while fresh vegetables are expected to have a 1 to 2% jump in prices. Though this is the smallest prediction of any food category, non-alcoholic beverages will see an increase as well, expected to jump 3.5% to 4.5%. And lastly, those with a sweet tooth expect to see similar jumps, with each category from sugar, sweet, and cereals estimated to see a 3 to 4% jump in cost. Reporting for Newsnet, I'm Holly Anderson.
Authorities say 2 boys under the age of 18 have died, and at least 11 others were treated for gunshot wounds they received during a shooting at a house party. Pittsburgh police said the shooting happened Easter Sunday around 12:30 a.m. at a short-term rental property with more than 200 people inside, many of whom were underage. Police said others were injured as they attempted to flee the scene, including 2 people who suffered broken bones while jumping out of the building's windows. Shell casing from rifles and pistols were found at the scene, and as many as 50 rounds were fired inside the home before the violence spilled out into the street. The investigation is ongoing, and officers are processing evidence at as many as 8 separate crime scenes spanning a few blocks around the site of the shooting.
It's heartbreaking. I mean, here we are at Easter, and we have multiple families, 2 that won't see a loved one. It is our top priority to find out who did this and get them off the street. And we're asking the public, if you have any information, if you were there, if you saw anything, if you know anything, to please come forward with the information.
The time is now for us to move with a sense of urgency to bring justice to the victims and peace to our city.
Police have arrested a suspect in connection with a shooting at a busy shopping mall in South Carolina that left 14 people injured on Saturday. The victims at Columbiana Center range in age from 15 to 73. There were no reported fatalities, but 9 people were shot and 5 others suffered injuries while attempting to flee the mall for safety. Investigators believe at least 3 suspects displayed firearms inside the mall, but they're working to determine how many shooters there were total. Columbia police said a 22-year-old who was one of 3 people initially detained by law enforcement remains in police custody and is expected to face gun-related charges.
We don't believe this was random. I think that's very important in situations like this. We believe that the individuals that were armed knew each other, and there was some type of conflict that occurred that resulted in gunfire. This was not a situation where we had some random person show up at a mall to, discharge a firearm and injure people.
It's a pretty significant day for many in the world of business, especially after the markets were closed Friday for the holiday weekend. Our Andy Hirschfeld's here with information for the tax day ahead and more. Good morning.
Good morning. The IRS is offering a free e-file option this year that includes a preparation plan for those making less than $73,000. You can file for an extension as well, and that will give you until October 17th. Troubling flights, pilots for several major U.S. airlines raising concerns about fatigue issues. First, last week, Southwest Airlines Pilot Union penned a letter to their CEO about these issues. The letter said, in part, quote, over the last 12 months, our pilots have filed an ever-increasing number of ASAP, that's Aviation Safety Action Program reports, showing errors that can be directly correlated to fatigue. And in Seattle, Delta Airlines pilots taking to the picket line over a very similar issue. Those 2 airlines far from alone. Only last month, American Airlines Pilot Union voiced a similar concern, even running ads like this one.
For years, pilots have stood behind American Airlines through chronic delays and cancellations, unhappy passengers, and disregard for our contract. CEO Robert Isom, it's time to stand with your pilots.
And not so magically delicious after all, because we have a consumer alert. The Food and Drug Administration is investigating Lucky Charms cereal. This after dozens of customers complained about illnesses after eating it. Over the weekend, the FDA announced that so far this year it's received more than 100 complaints about the cereal.
A 43-year-old man is believed to have jumped off the Carnival Cruise Line ship Mardi Gras Saturday morning. The Coast Guard responded with 2 cutters and an airplane to help with the search. Another cruise ship named Elation also scoured the waters. The man has not been found, and the Mardi Gras eventually continued course to Port Canaveral. Carnival said it is working to help the man's family at this difficult time. In Australia, for the first time in more than 2 years, a cruise ship sailed into the Sydney harbor and dropped anchor. The crew of the Pacific Explorer, owned by P&O Australia, arrived to a warm welcome. There were no passengers on this trip, but at capacity, it can hold nearly 3,000 voyagers at a time, which it's set to do as soon as next month. The last time a cruise ship docked in the harbor was in March 2020, when more than 24 people aboard the Ruby Princess died after contracting COVID-19. And other passengers were blamed for spreading the virus in Sydney, where they disembarked. It's time now for the entertainment report. Let's see how movies did in the box office over the weekend. Here's Frank McCaffrey.
Can I? Very dangerous. If it got in the wrong hands, mess you up.
Where did you get it?
Look out for Christmas.
Fantastic Beasts: The Secrets of Dumbledore has successfully moved Sonic the Hedgehog 2 down to number 2. The J.K. Rowling family adventure thriller had a big opening weekend. It raked in $43 million in North American box offices, while Sonic came in with $30 million. The numbers aren't huge, but still pretty impressive by most accounts. And the May 7th episode of Saturday Night Live has signed on its host. Benedict Cumberbatch will take the role in an effort to promote his film, which will have opened the day before. The movie Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness is a sequel to Doctor Strange in 2016, and guess what? The last time Cumberbatch hosted Saturday Night Live was to promote that movie.
Stay with us. Weather,
report. I'm
sports,
Frank
and
McCaffrey.
more are headed your way. With your latest headlines, I'm Victoria Idoni. Have a marvelous Monday.